Time for a physical media update. Welcome back to my world of stuff. My name is this one here. We're on the road to 700 subscribers. Still stuck at 600. That's okay. We got there on the weekend. We're happy. But let's get things going, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get some more people on board. So if you like what you see, like and subscribe. And leave a comment, but particularly subscribe. That'll be excellent. Lots of film reviews, TV reviews, unboxings, trips, cinema trips, Oot and the Boots, and physical media updates. It's time for a physical media update. The last one was about 3 weeks ago, perhaps 4 weeks ago. Haven't actually picked up a lot since then, but on the basis that I can't foresee me picking up much in the next couple of weeks, I thought I would just update you on the things I have bought. There's a few discs. There's a handful of DVDs and Blu-rays, mainly Blu-rays, a couple of comic books, and a couple of odds and sods. So let's have a quick run through what I've got recently. I picked this one up from Amazon in a sale from the BFI, and this is a classic film from 1968 called Targets. This is directed by Peter Bogdanovich and stars Boris Karloff. It's a film that unfortunately, sadly, could be torn from current headlines. It's about an unhinged sniper, disturbed Vietnam veteran who suddenly embarks on a murderous shooting rampage. Sort of things we hear about happening in America all too often, sadly. This goes back to 1968. I've seen this many years ago on TV. Picked it up for about, I'm thinking about $10.99 on a sale from the BFIs. You know, BFI discs very rarely come down in price. They do tend to be quite expensive. And there's a lot of stuff on there, label I'm not interested in, but I saw this, it's got some good special features. It's got booklets. So good value for about 11 quid, something like that. So that's Targets. Charity shop pickups, I think the rest, and CEX. First one, I picked these two up in a charity shop, I think, a couple of weekends ago. They were 50p each, if my memory serves me well. This is a very good film, wickedly funny. It's called Carnage. This is directed by somebody whose name is in very small print, so I can't actually see it. But it's got an all-star cast: Jodie Foster, Kate Winslet, Christoph Waltz, and John C. Reilly. This is I think this is based on a stage play, I have a feeling. And it's the story of parents of a young kid who go to visit the parents of another kid because there's been a bit of a playground fight. One of the kids has lost his teeth. And the parents come together in a very amicable and adult fashion to try and resolve the issues between the two kids. It ends up, as the title indicates, Carnage. It's very much a character piece, very theatrical in its production. It's all set in one location, obviously, in one of the houses of one of the families. But it's really entertaining. We've got the top quality cast, so you can't go wrong with Carnage. I've seen this years ago. It's only about 90 minutes. 80 minutes actually, it's shorter than I thought. So that'll be one to rewatch at some point quite soon. I picked this one up because it's quite good fun. It's the Maze Runner, the first of the Maze Runner series. I think I might have seen the second one. Yeah, this is quite good fun. Directed by Wes Ball. Stars, I wish we could put these things in such small writing. Dylan O'Brien, Caius Scodeliara, Thomas Brody, Sangster, Will Poulter, and Patricia Clarkson. Yeah, this is a story about a group of kids who wake up in a strange, endless maze that they can't get out of, and they're stalked by strange robotic creatures, I seem to recall, that stalk the maze, and they eventually discover the secret of the outside world. This was a series of 3-4 films. I think I've certainly seen the first two. I quite enjoyed them, and this is the first one, this is the best, so I think this was 50p. Why not? This coming weekend, I took a trip down to my local CEX. I had vouchers for about 20 quid. I was looking for The Creator, you know, the new Gareth Edwards science fiction film which came out last year. There's a review of it online, incidentally, on my channel if you want to go back and have a look at it towards the end of last year. Really good film, quite underrated. It wasn't a massive hit, but it didn't cost vast amounts of money, so I think it probably turned a profit. And I noticed a lot of other YouTube Blu-ray people have found copies of it already in CEX for £8, so I was hoping to find one locally. No such luck, but I did pick up a couple of other bits and pieces. You may remember in previous editions of Show and Tell or Physical Media Update, I picked up seasons 2 and 3 of the classic 1960s, 50s, 60s American anthology sci-fi show The Twilight Zone, and I mistakenly thought I already had season 1. I don't. I do now. Picked it up last weekend, £15 with a CEX voucher, so it didn't cost me anything. So I've got all 3 seasons of The Twilight Zone now, and one of these days I'm going to sit down and watch some of them. It is a classic show. Some of the great sort of science fiction short stories introduced by the great Rod Serling. Frustratingly, this of course had labels all over its CEX labels, and because it's probably been on the shelf for a while, the labels were quite deeply entrenched on the plastic cover, so I got them off using the secret universal lighter fluid solution from Poundland. Unfortunately, I stupidly didn't take the inner sleeve out first, so because some of the labelling was up there, so some of the oil has got onto the light blue of the cover. I'm hoping it will dry out. I'm not one who bothers about dents and dings and things as long as it's in presentable condition. Of course, it's an old set anyway, so the cover's a little bit manked up. But yeah, it's a bit marked up there, but I don't really care. That's the episodes that I want. I picked up this one for, this was £1 in another charity shop. I thought I might have it, but I wasn't sure. And I remember seeing it in the cinema many years ago and really enjoying it. It goes back to many years ago, 2014 in fact. This is Maleficent, starring Angelina Jolie, she of the sharp cheekbones in this particular film. This is an interesting take on the Sleeping Beauty story. Almost not exactly an origin, I suppose, but it's sort of that sort of an early version of the sort of origin films they're doing these days. Really enjoyed this at the cinema. I haven't seen the sequel, and I picked it up thinking I've surely got this. I'll check my collection this morning, and I haven't. I have now, so that's Maleficent. And well, there's 2 more DVDs actually. They are both DVDs. I picked this up because it was 50p, not particularly because I wanted the films. However, having read the blurbs on the back, I think I might actually give at least 2 of them a watch. This was 50p, a Blu-ray steelbook of Elizabeth the Golden Age, and the other Boleyn Girl. Of course, 2 of these star Kate Blanchett. The Boleyn Girl stars Natalie Portman, Scarlett Johansson and Eric Bana. British historical films. I can take them or leave them. But this was a nice set for 50p. Nice steelbook. Few little scritchy scratches on the back, but again, this is 50p. And I saw it on the shelf and thought, well, it's a steelbook. I know it's DVD only, but it's quite nice. And inside, it has the 3 films looking pretty good. They don't look as if they've been mistreated. They're all in good condition. So I certainly fancy watching the Elizabeth films, because that's a period of history that's quite volatile and quite interesting. It often comes up in quizzes. The last DVD is one I picked up at a live show I went to last week. I went to see last Tuesday, a week ago. Or was it Wednesday? Might have been Wednesday. Who knows? I went to see Count Arthur Strong, who is one of my favourite sort of quite culty comedians. If you know of him, you probably know of him from the BBC comedy series that ran for 3 or 4 years. But he's predominantly known as a radio performer. He has this quirky radio comedy series, but I know him from the TV series. And I've seen him live 3 or 4 times now. And he's just so funny. If you've seen him, you know who he is. He's this bumbling sort of music hall star who's trying to stay relevant to the 21st century. But he keeps getting things wrong, malapropisms and fumbling his words and getting himself in a tizzy about things. What I like about this is that it's good, clean family humour. I do get a little bit tired of all the comedians effing and jeffing and all the swearing you get in sitcoms these days. And it's nice to have something which is a throwback to slightly more innocent days. I saw his latest show, which is called And Good Night From Me, which is supposed to be his farewell tour. It may well be, because the character of Count Arthur Strong is probably supposed to be late 60s, early 70s. But Steve Delaney, the comedian who plays Count Arthur Strong, he's actually now 70, so he's probably about the age Count Arthur Strong actually is. If you see him, you would never think he's that age. He doesn't look that age. But it's very funny. The new show was the funniest I've ever seen him on stage. And of course, they have a merchandise table when you come out of the theatre. And I picked up this DVD of his last show, which was about a couple of years ago. Very funny. I've watched a bit of it so far. It's it's classic Count Arthur Strong. This was a tenner, I think. that's pretty much it then for DVDs and Blu-rays. Not a lot of pickups. That's the way things are at the moment. And as you know, I'm not one for picking up new releases unless it's something particularly special. I do have one or two other things I picked up though. Picked up a book called Among the Living by Tim Leben. Tim Leben is one of my favourite authors. He lives fairly locally. I think he lives Monmouth way. He's a great writer. He's a science fiction horror writer, I suppose. And his books are very much sort of ecological survivalist stories. He's obviously got quite a keen interest in the environment and the damage that's done to the planet by us intruding amongst it. And he's written some great books. The Silence remains my favourite of his. It was made into a Netflix film a few years ago. It's about some explorers opening up a cave in, I think it's South Africa somewhere, and releasing this horde of bat-type creatures, carnivorous bat creatures that hunt by sound alone. It's a bit similar to A Quiet Place, but came out a few years earlier. Terrific book. I read it in about 2 sittings. And I've read a lot of his books ever since. And they do seem to have a similar theme about people on the run for some terrible thing. I read another one called Eden, which was set on this plateau that was being investigated by these explorers, and it was full of hostile, slightly hallucinogenic life forms. And one he did a couple of years ago, which was called The Last Storm, which again was it was one of his denser books in that it was about a future America where the ecology had been corrupted to the extent that there was no rain and it was very arid and a sort of a desert dust bowl landscape. And it was a sort of a pursuit thing with this girl who had the power to conjure storms by this Heath Robinson type contraption that had been put together and passed down through the generations. That was a really good book. This is his latest anyway. It's called Among the Living. As you can see, I'm halfway through it already. It's really good. This is about, again, a similar theme to Silence. It's about explorers who are, in fact, not exactly mineralogists, but they go to explore uncharted regions and caves and chasms and so on, looking for rare minerals, and then when they found them, they extract some and then sell the information of the location to big conglomerates. Then come in and strip all these minerals from the land. They're not particularly nice people, but they travel to this cave in the Arctic and unleash something horrible that lurks beneath. It's not a creature, it's a monster. It's a long dormant virus, and that's something I know that has been mentioned in the past. I know certainly when we had COVID-19 a few years ago, and I think that probably inspired this book a little bit. The idea about viruses and things that are buried in the permafrost and have been hidden since prehistoric times, emerging because of man's exploration and so on, and causing chaos across the world. This is basically about this. There are two groups here. There's one group that's entered the cave and released something, a second group that's chasing after them to stop them. The virus or something seemed to have escaped, but they hope they've contained it, but they've destroyed their transport and they have to trek 30 miles back to civilization, and that's sort of where we are at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. Great book. Tim Leben is such a good writer. His writing is so propulsive, his characters are so sharp. A really good book, so I highly recommend it. It's by Titan Books itself. Now, finally, we have comic books for those of you interested in such things. Pick these up off eBay for, again, I'm thinking about a tenner. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 editions of Marvel Team-Up Spider-Man. These go back to the 70s, and of course they were all 12p at the time. And I remember having all these. I would have had all these, get a massive Marvel collection, and to this day I'm not entirely sure what happened to it. I obviously sold it. Yeah, this is a comic strip series where in every edition Spider-Man would team up with another character from the Marvel Universe. In that one we have Yellow Jackets and the Wasp. In that one we have the Sons of the Tigers. No, I don't know who they are either. There we have him teaming up with Dr. Doom. There we have him teaming up with even with Moondragon. I don't know who that is. Killraven. I remember Killraven was sort of a War of the Worlds type character. The Thing from the Fantastic Four. Black Widow. And Ghost Rider. So there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 comics here. All nicely bagged and boarded, so they're in very good condition. And I'll probably read them at some point, but they were only a few quid. I am to this day still looking for old comics from my youth, which I had at the time. And recently I was watching a batch of comics over the last few days on eBay, and it was something like 14 of those big treasury editions that Marvel did. And it included the very rare Spider-Man and Superman battle, which came out 76, something like that, in a big treasury edition, which was the first time DC and Marvel have crossed over. I think they've done it probably several times since, and I've been looking for that for a while, and it was in a batch of others I think there was Jack Kirby's 2001 in a big Treasury edition. And Treasury editions of Fantastic Four, Thor, various other things, which I had. I had all these things. I had them, oversold them. And I was watching them, and the price wasn't bad. It was sort of 50, 60 quid. And I thought, well, you know, if it goes for about 70, I might bung in a bit on my credit card. Then it shot up, ended up at 156 quid, and that's a bit rich for my taste. But I do look online on eBay for a few of the comics that I recognise from that era. It's got to be 60s, early 70s, because that period, 72 to about 79, when I was particularly into Marvel Comics. And it'd be nice to get a few more of those. And as you know, I've shown you various collections that I've picked up over the last couple of years. And of these, you can see the ones I've got in the cupboard back there. You probably can't see them very well, but I have shown you other ones I've bought. It's just a nostalgia thing, I suppose. Anyway, that's me up to date with the stuff that I've bought. Not a lot, as you can see. There's, you know, I don't do the regular Blu-ray hunts that many others do, looking every week for the new releases and picking up new releases, because I like to get them a bit cheaper, to be honest. And it is that sort of the thing where I do support physical media, and I believe in physical media, and it's very important. But I don't like buying them at full price. And you know that when they come out at full price, within a few weeks, they're going to be reduced. So it seems sort of sensible to save your pennies, really. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new, if you've stumbled across this video because it had pictures of things in it on the thumbnail, yeah, like and subscribe. That would be marvellous. Please do. Right, I'll see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.